Well, hello everyone. It's Nina Marie Trapani here for Simon Says Stamp, and welcome to today's video. I have another Not a Card feature to share with you, and today we're going to be talking about tags. I am going to be using a bunch of new dies from our Simon Says Stamp DieCember collection. This DieCember release was filled with so many amazing dies that you can use, not just for the holidays, you can use them all season long, but I am going to turn them into some holiday tags. I love making tags for Christmas, and so I was really inspired to use many of the products in this release to create a fun set of tags. So we're going to make 3 different designs today. I'm going to show you how I made them, and as you can see, I've made multiples. These are easy to make more than one of, so if you wanted to, you have a bunch of these on hand for your gifts, this is a great project. So why don't we dive on in and start creating. I'm going to go ahead and use this Holiday Dreams pattern paper collection from Pink Fresh Studios for all of my tags today. They're going to be the base for my tags. I'm also going to be using our Simon Says Stamp large rounded tag. This is going to be the die that I'm going to die cut all of my pattern paper with. So all of my tags are going to have this pattern paper and this tag as the base. We're going to create some frosty purpley blue snowflake tags here. As you can see on screen, this is what we're creating first, and I just love that snowflake die. So I'm going to take my pattern paper that I've die cut, and I'm going to stick it inside of this Whirlpool embossing folder. It is such a cool folder, and I love being able to emboss on top of my pattern paper. It just adds another level of texture, which is really fun. So you can see here how we've got that great dot pattern going across the snowflakes, which looks really pretty. I'm going to add a little bit of ink around the edges of my tag. I loved the purple color of the snowflakes, so I'm going to use Heather ink from our Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Saturating collection to help me get a similar color for the edges of the tag. So here you can see how we've got that beautiful embossing and also the pretty color around the edges. Going to bring in that snowflake die now. This is the Snowflake Swirl. It is a really pretty large cluster of snowflakes, and I'm going to die cut this from some metallic cardstock. This is our Simon Says Stamp matte silver, and actually throughout the video I'm going to be using some metallic cardstocks from our Simon Says Stamp holiday assortment. We have a really nice assortment bundle of metallic cardstocks that are perfect for the holiday season. I have that and all of the other products that I'm using today listed below in the video description as well as on the blog. So I've die cut multiples of these snowflake swirls. These are so pretty. And I'm gluing them onto my tags. I'm just putting a few dots of glue on the back side and then gluing that directly to the pattern paper tags. Now you'll notice I have one tag here that has the embossing from that dot Whirlpool, and then the other tag does not. I just wanted to show you that you could vary up how you're doing these. If you wanted to skip the step of adding the embossing to your tag, you totally can, and you can, as you can see, it still creates a beautiful design. So I have the base of my tags ready to go here. We're going to set these aside because I'm going to do the embellishing and adding the sentiments at the end of the video when I do all of the other tags. So this was a process that I felt was really great for time saving. Because I was going to use the same sentiments on all of my tags, I figured I'd do them all at once in a bulk batch so that way I could make the most of my time. So I made all the bases of my tags first. So all the pretty die cutting and stuff, I got all that done for each one, and then I moved on to adding sentiments and embellishments later. So we have our first set of tags set, and now we're going to move on to creating this beautiful and super soft berry sprig. It looks so pretty. It's a beautiful neutral color palette that would go well with so many different wrapping papers. So I'm going to be using our new Whirl Bay Leaves die. This is such a beautiful die that adds all that fun etching to the leaves. And I'm going to die cut it from our new Shimmer vellum. This Shimmer vellum is so lovely. It has such a soft color tone to it, and it goes really well with neutrals. So I'm going to die cut this neutral pattern paper that's also from that same Pink Fresh pattern paper collection that I mentioned earlier. I die cut that tag, and that gives me a beautiful base for these leaves. Because the vellum is thin and we've got all of those beautiful lines etched into the vellum, it does have a tendency to want to curl this vellum. Because there's just so much being etched into the paper and it's so thin, it just naturally wants to curl. But I'm going to embrace that. I'm actually going to curl my leaves and almost fold them to give them a little bit of lift, so that way they look dimensional on top of my tag. I'm adding a little bit of glue to start right down the center of my stem, just so that way I can get the stem attached, and then I will attach the leaves too, but I didn't want to have too much glue all at once. At this point, Oscar was joining me. He's going to be my assistant throughout the rest of this particular tag. He had to inspect, and I'll show you a little bit here what he ends up doing. I'm going to glue these leaves directly to the tag with just a thin line of adhesive right down the center of the leaves. And I'm letting the edges stay curled up because that's where we've got that dimension, and it's making these look realistic, which I think is really pretty. So as you can see, these look amazing layered on top of this pattern paper, and that shimmer is just so gorgeous. So I'm going to add some berries from this Whirl Holly die. This is actually from our Festive Fun collection, but it works really nice with the bay leaves. Oscar was inspecting my choice. He wanted to make sure that this was a good one for the project. As you can see, he had to check it out, make sure everything was good to go, and then he gave his stamp of approval. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut that from some gold cardstock. This is also from that holiday collection of metallic cardstocks. I'm going to just cut enough of it to cut out the berries. I'm not using the stem for this project, so I'm not going to worry about cutting that out. So I'm just cutting small pieces that will be large enough to cut those berries. And I'm gluing these onto my project with some thin 3D foam squares from Simon Says Stamp. These are half the dimension of regular foam squares, so they add just a little bit of lift, and it's a perfect amount of dimension I felt for these berries so that they look like they're sitting on top of the stem, which I think looks really cool. And I do have them tucked behind some of the petals just to give it some depth. So that's the base for this set of tags. As you can see, I've added some really cool bows and also sentiments to this as well. We'll get to that in just a short bit. But I want to put together the base for my next set of tags, which are these gorgeous snowflakes. I love the Pixie snowflake die from the DieCember release, and it die cuts so beautifully. So I'm going to pick out this fun festive pattern paper. I've die cut it twice so that way I can make multiple tags. I'm bringing in that grand Pixie, and I'm going to die cut this from not only some white glitter cardstock from our Simon Says Stamp collection, but I'm also going to die cut it from the rich red cardstock that's in the holiday metallic cardstock collection. I'm gluing these snowflakes directly into the center of these pattern paper tags, so that way I have that really nice large focal point in the center. All right, so we have all of our bases done. This is where we have finished up. We're ready to start putting these together and adding the final touches. First up, I need to put some plain white tags on the back side of my decorative tags. Because I cut these from pattern paper, there is a pattern on the back side of each of these tags. So I want to cover that up so I have a nice clean place to write on the back side. Plus, this adds a little bit of stability to the thinner pattern paper, so it makes this a bit more of a thicker tag, and it'll hold up nice on your package. So I'm going to do this for all of my tags just to make sure that they have then that clean white base. I'm bringing in this Christmas Cheer stamp set from our Simon Says Stamp collection and also the coordinating dies. I'm going to use the banner shape and the sentiments that coordinate with that banner. This banner is going to be the perfect sentiment for all of my tags, and I've picked out a variety of different colored Simon Says Stamp cardstocks that are going to be perfect to go with each of my tags. I'm going to stamp all of these banners onto my paper with some embossing ink, and then I'm going to use embossing powder. And I've chosen different colors of embossing powder. I've got cream, white, silver, and gold as my choices. I used either the cream or the white for the banners themselves, and then for the sentiments, I'll use either the gold or the silver, because we will have to do the stamping twice for these banners. We need to stamp the banners first, then we'll need to stamp the sentiments. So I've stamped all my banners. Here's one of those other cardstock colors I've chosen. This is our new eggplant color. It's such a beautiful purple. I'm stamping my sentiment on top of that banner. It fits perfectly inside there, nestles in. And now I can bring in one of my either gold or silver embossing powders and sprinkle that on top, so that way the sentiment has a different color than the banner itself. So I heat set each of these separately. So I embossed the banner first and then I embossed the sentiment just so that way none of the embossing gets messed up. So I'm going to use the coordinating dies for this Christmas cheer banner, and I'm going to use some very, very low tack tape to hold that in place while I run it through my die cut machine. So that way I get a really good clean cut. And then I'm going to go through and die cut each one of these. I am brushing off any of that powder tool that I used prior to stamping to make sure that the paper is completely clear. Your finger works really well for that because you're using an anti-static powder to do your stamping, but then you can use your finger, which has a little bit of oils on it, to remove that powder. So that's a good trick. So now it's time for me to start adding my sentiments in place. For the bay leaves and also the snowflake swirl, I put those sentiments directly onto my tags. But then for the Pixie snowflake tags, I actually want to add some candy canes to those. I thought candy canes would be the perfect finishing touch in the center of the snowflakes. So I pulled out these candy cane confections from Tim Holtz and I'm putting some red line tape on the backside of them. I'm going to be gluing 2 candy canes onto each tag. So I'm going to layer one directly on top of the snowflake at an angle, and then I'm going to bring in the second and actually trim it so that way I can put the 2 pieces on either side of the other candy cane. I want to have these kind of crossing, but I don't want to have any extra bulk in the center. That way if I cut it, I only have that one level of dimension to have to work with. So I'm putting some foam tape on the backside of my Merry Christmas banner. I'm leaving that middle section open so that way the candy canes can go right down the center, and then the sentiment fits on top beautifully. I finished this off with a little bit of velvet trim and some silver cording just to attach that ribbon to the tags. It's super cute and simple, but it adds that perfect holiday flair. Those candy canes are just darling and look so amazing on top of these snowflakes. All right, these bows for the neutral tags, these were so much fun to make and they're really quite easy. So I'm taking a length of ribbon and I'm making loops and folding them on top of each other. So I'm just kind of looping the ribbon up and then folding it back down across itself until I have 4 loops on the top and bottom. So kind of use the middle as your center point. You're gonna have 4 loops on either end. That middle point is where we're going to tie the bow together to form the shape and keep everything contained. So I'm gonna trim up my ribbon here. I've got my 4 loops on either end. Then I'm going to take my ribbon again and tie that around the center, tie everything up, and keep this bow held together. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to be able to fluff this a little bit. This technique works best if you have a ribbon that has a little bit of wire in it. This one does a tiny bit. It's very thin wire, so it doesn't really hold its shape perfectly, but it held it just enough to be able to give me the fluff I wanted. If you have ribbon that has a good wire to it, you're going to be able to fluff this beautifully. But I still love how this looks. It's a really cool effect. It's like a burst of ribbon at the top. Then to attach it to my tag, I just looped my ribbon through the hole of the tag and then tied a simple overhand knot to secure it. And then I'm going to have those fun little tails hanging off the top. And now I can come through and fluff those bows a little bit just to give it a little bit more shape. This was so cool. It was a fun technique to be able to add that fun festive flair to the top of the tag. Lovely, and it goes beautifully with those gold balls on our bay leaves. And then finally, I'm going to embellish our snowflake tags with just a few gems. I'm bringing in these Opal Dazzling gems from our Simon Says Stamp collection. These are one of my absolute favorites for snowflakes, and I'm just gluing these onto the centers of each one of the snowflakes. This is just going to embellish them just a bit, but that little bit of sparkle and shine catches the light so beautifully and really enhances the snowflakes. And then for these tags, I just kept it really simple and tied a very basic blue sheer ribbon to the top. So there we have it, my collection of festive tags using our Simon Says Stamp DieCember collection. There's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of fun things going on. And I think each one of these tags has such a fun personality. So I hope that you were inspired by these ideas that I have to share with you today, all using products from our Simon Says Stamp DieCember collection, which is available right now over at simonsaystamp.com. So if you'd like more information about these tags, including still pictures, you can find that over on our Simon Says Stamp blog. There are also product links there too, as well as in the video description. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I love sharing holiday projects with you, so I hope you were inspired today. And thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and until next time, friends, I hope you have a very wonderful day.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.